Hi everybody, welcome to our channel, The Scary Tales. Our scary and horror stories are designed to send chills down your spine. Enjoy the spine-tingling stories thrill. Here's your horror stories about driving at night. 1. The hitchhiker Shadow Tom was driving down an isolated highway when he saw a lone hitchhiker, an older man with a tattered coat and a hunched posture. Feeling sorry for him, Tom pulled over. The man got in, thanked him in a raspy voice, and they chatted casually. Every time Tom glanced at him, the man seemed frail but normal. Then, as Tom adjusted the rearview mirror, his heart stopped. The seat was empty, but outside, running alongside the car, was a shadowy figure, elongated, distorted, mimicking the hitchhiker's posture perfectly. Tom slammed the brakes, but when he turned to the seat again, the man was there, smiling. "I told you I needed a ride," he whispered. 2. Wrong turn into nowhere. Emily's GPS rerouted her through an unmarked back road to avoid traffic. At first, it seemed normal, just a quiet stretch of highway. But soon, she realized she wasn't making any progress. The trees all looked identical. The road had no street signs, and she had passed the same rusted billboard 3 times. She checked her phone, no signal. The GPS displayed a blank map with her cars floating in an empty void. Panicking, she pulled over and turned around, but the road behind her had vanished. In its place, dense, black forest stretched as far as the headlights could see. 3. Phantom high beams. Late at night, Mark noticed a car behind him flashing its high beams repeatedly. At first, he thought it was a rude driver, but the car never passed. It just stayed behind, flashing its lights at random intervals. Frustrated, he pulled into a gas station. The car behind him vanished the moment he stopped. Feeling uneasy, he looked at his reflection in the window. That's when he saw it, a dark figure hunched in his back seat, barely visible in the dim light. The high beams, they weren't warnings. They were trying to reveal it. For the Eternal Highway Dan was a long-haul trucker used to monotonous highways, but tonight was different. He had been driving for hours, but every sign said the same town was 12 miles away. At first, he thought he was just tired. Then he stopped at a gas station, but it looked abandoned. Old pumps, dusty shelves, yet freshly stocked with food. The clerk behind the counter didn't blink or speak. Back in his truck, Dan drove faster, desperate to escape. But the signs never changed. His radio began playing whispers, and the odometer read the same mileage as when he started. No matter what he did, he would never leave this highway. 5. Eyes in the forest. Jenny took a shortcut through the woods, driving fast to get home before midnight. Her high beams cut through the trees, and then pairs of glowing eyes appeared along the roadside. At first, they were just animal-sized, watching from the darkness. But as she drove faster, they multiplied, growing larger, taller, and closer to the road. Then, in the rearview mirror, she saw something worse. A pair of massive, human-like eyes were staring at her from the back seat. 6. The car that wasn't their Ryan was driving alone on a foggy road when he noticed an old, rusted sedan tailing him. The headlights flickered weakly, like an old film reel struggling to stay lit. After miles of the car staying dangerously close, Ryan pulled over to let it pass. But when he stopped, the car was gone. Shaken, he continued driving until the car reappeared in his mirror, closer than before. This time, the driver's face was pressed against the glass, grinning. Ryan turned off the road, but no matter where he went, the car always found him again. 7. Dead Man's Intersection. At exactly 3:33 a.m., Lisa reached a lonely 4-way intersection in the middle of nowhere. A tall, shadowy figure stood in the center of the road, unmoving. She honked. It didn't react. She drove around it, but seconds later, she was back at the same intersection. The figure was closer now. No matter which turn she took, she always ended up back at the same place, the same intersection, the same figure, now standing just inches from her window. It reached out, and her engine died. 8. Silent passenger Alex turned on the radio to drown out the eerie quiet of driving alone at night. The hum of the road was the only sound, until he heard breathing. He turned the radio off. The breathing continued, slow, raspy, coming from the back seat. His hands gripped the wheel as he looked in the mirror. Nothing. He told himself it was just his imagination, until he saw the faintest cloud of condensation on the inside of his rear window. 9. The headlights that followed home. James noticed headlights behind him, tailing him all the way home. He turned onto his street, and they turned too. He pulled into his driveway, but the lights never passed, never stopped. When he stepped out of his car, the lights vanished. No sound, no engine, no car, just two orbs of floating light, hovering silently at the end of his driveway, waiting. 10. No exit. Mia was exhausted from driving and decided to stop at a rest area she saw on a sign. The parking lot was full of dusty, rusted cars, some with doors left open, like people had fled in a hurry. She stepped inside the convenience store, only to find rotting food on the shelves and an old radio playing a recorded voice of her own last words. When she ran back outside, her car was gone, the road gone, and behind her, the store's doors were locking on their own. The end.